Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I'm Gary, your host. This is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. And this time, we're going to take a little look at Captain Atom, number 14 from 1988, DC Comics. Talked a little bit about Captain Atom before, and I probably will again sometime. But before we do that, I wanted to show you my two books here. Bizarre Brain Comics Anthology. Whoops, I knocked over Captain Atom. And the first one is some silly humor, a little bit, and a little bit of adventure. And then my second one is a little more mainstream. Bizarre Brain Comics presents Heroes. It has some superhero stuff and a little bit of horror and even has a Western story in there. Now, I'd appreciate it if you don't already have a copy to order yours from Amazon, Barnes & Noble online store, other online book outlets, $7.99 each. And I want to thank everyone out there who has got their copy already. Thank you very much. Now, Captain Atom. As I said, I've talked a little bit about him before. This is Captain Atom number 14, 1988, DC Comics, written by Cary Bates and Greg Weisman, with pencils by Pat Broderick and inks by Bob Smith. And Captain Atom is the name of several comic book superheroes. He was initially owned and published by Charlton Comics. Now, that's the context that I've talked before. I've shown one or two of the Charlton Captain Atom books, and talked about that then. And that was in the 60s. Actually, he was created. It first appeared in. Well, I'll get to that. And then it was acquired by DC Comics in the 80s. It was created by Joe Gill and Steve Ditko, with his first appearance in Space Adventures number 33 in 1960. And his civilian name was Alan Adam. Alan Adam. Adam. Okay. And he sparked a couple of other similar characters. Just from 62 for Gold Key Comics was Dr. Solar, Man of the Atom, and he is very similar to Captain Atom. That's him. There it is. And that's him right there. And then in 1965, at Dell Comics, Nucla, who was a very similar character. I don't know that much about him. I've got one or two issues that I don't think I've read yet. I'm going to have to find them and read them sometime. But funny thing is, Nucla was also created by Joe Gill. Okay, and then when Captain Atom was relaunched by DC Comics, the character in 1987, then he was given the name of Nathaniel Atom, and he was an Air Force test pilot. There's more to the story than this, but I'll just say that. There was an accident, and this was in 1968. And he was believed dead. But he returned later, 20 years later, returned with energy superpowers. And he was a longtime member of the Justice League. But in his new civilian guise, because like Nathaniel Atom has been dead for 20 years, they gave him the pseudonym Cameron Scott, and that's why in this they're always referring to him as Cameron or Scott. And his superior in the storyline is now General Eiling, but they were contemporaries, and they were Nathaniel Adam and Eiling were antagonists to one another, and now General Eiling is his superior. He is, but at this point in time, he has left the Air Force. He is basically solo, and currently unemployed, because he left the military and the intelligence organizations that he was associated with, because he had as well as being a skillful pilot, he had been involved in security and intelligence before that. Okay, and in this issue here is guest starring Nightshade, and here she is, Nightshade. At this point in time, Nightshade was a member of the still fairly new Suicide Squad, but she also works for intelligence and stuff, and she is also a former Charlton character, and in fact, she was the partner of Captain Adam in the Captain Adam stories at Charlton. I don't think she had her own title. She was a secondary character, but they were partners. And she has some darkness powers, and I'm not sure what all. Okay, so here we go. We'll take a little look in here. Some real nice artwork by Pat Broderick. This is a nice cover, and the interior art is done very well as well. And I like Pat Broderick. This is pretty early in his career. Remember seeing some of his stuff over the years. Just a few years ago, I briefly met him at a local convention, and he was selling, and I bought a book from him, from I'm not sure what publisher, but it was. But that title was called Nibiru, and it was based on Zecharia Sitchin 12 Planet books. Some weird stuff, Planet Nibiru. If you don't know about it, it's too complex to explain here. Okay. And we start off right here. There's some Secret Service goons. This was 1988. Ronald Reagan was still president, and so via this closed circuit system here, he is talking to, at the moment we don't know, except in course of the dialogue, and it is Reagan basically appealing to Captain Adam. See, we're seeing it from Captain Adam, Cameron Scott's perspective. Here, some real nice, intricate detail in the background here, and he's appealing to his sense of duty and patriotism to return to the fold and reestablish his connection to the military and intelligence world. But he said, I'll think about it, but he's having none of it. That's all that this is all about. Yep. Basically talking heads, trying to make it visually interesting. Then the goons are leaving and kind of run into this pretty blonde lady who happens to be Eve Eden, who is Nightshade. She and Captain Adam have recently become an item together, and she works for the intelligence, and she has openly said, my assignment is to watch you, but they have a romantic relationship as well. And we're talking about maybe going away for the weekend together, because he is currently unemployed. Now here we go to General Eiling, and all these pictures here are just pictures of Adam / Scott with Agent Eden, keeping tabs on him, and said he'll have to come back because he's not going to get work anywhere, not going to get a job anywhere. So they're talking. He says, California, yeah, he's got to go to California. He's got a couple of job interviews lined up with aviation companies out there. And so while they're talking, she's not happy with that because they had plans, yada, yada, yada. Meanwhile, while they're talking about it, these street toughs come up on them, try to mug them. And while they're still arguing with one another, they just beat the crap out of all these goons. No superpowers involved, just their own natural skills. Then they walk off kind of angry at one another. Now, remember, this is 20 years after he was presumed dead. He has made contact with his now adult daughter, and she is there seeing him off at the airport, and another friend of his. But what? Because he's going to California, but the plane takes off, but he's not on the plane. Why should he pay for a transatlantic flight especially when his cash is short, when he can fly himself? He just made it look like he was going off on the plane. There he is, carrying his luggage. Later, he's basically turned down at Ferris Aircraft. It's from Green Lantern. And so he's here for his interview at Lockheed Aircraft. And here's the old man Lockheed, who's in charge, boss of it. They're talking about he's on the simulator flying. Said he is a great pilot. But the guy's saying to him, he could be because of his security and intelligence background, he could be a greater asset than just as a pilot. And Lockheed says, doesn't matter, he's not getting the job anyway. Because, yes, there's pressure has been put on him from General Eiling because he's dependent on government contracts. That if he wants to continue with his government contracts, he's not going to give Cameron Scott a job. And then suddenly, boop, the power's out. There's a boom across the compound somewhere. Oh, what's going on? It's all in dark. Cameron Scott slips away, and pretty soon he is Captain Atom. He zooms to where the smoke is, where the boom. They're seeing security people who've been tased and they're out of commission. He zooms through, and there we see two people. The man and woman team are apparently industrial espionage, and they're there for the prototype of something that's called the stealth ray prototype. And it wasn't where it was supposed to be, so now they're basically hunting for it. But whoop, they're interrupted, and it is Nightshade, and she takes out one. She takes them both out, and so when Captain Atom gets there, they're already out of commission. And they continue their argument from before. Said, "You're here." Said, "Well, you're still my assignment, so I came to keep an eye on you." And then, oh, they're dead. Yeah, they had taken suicide pills. So what's crazy? That must really be fanatics or something. And then the old man Lockheed, of course, he doesn't know that Cameron Scott is Captain Atom. He comes there and says, "Come back. We can't talk here. Come back to such and such a hangar at such and such a time later, and we'll talk." And go, okay, what's going on? Meanwhile, someone was observing the entire thing from there, and he knows. Apparently, it's with his sound equipment, he was able to find it. Really good job on the faces and expressions here. Broderick has a tendency to give everyone a very long face, or actually a long nose, which gives them a long face. And so that guy who was talking to his boss, which is someplace in some snowy mountains somewhere, we don't know. This is when we find out about the stealth ray, and he's talking via some high-tech communications equipment to his boss, his lord and master, the Faceless One. Oh, and he brings them all up to speed, and here he is, this all shiny white and with a hood, and is very reminiscent looking of Moon Knight. So he knows about the meeting. He's going to be there. Later at the hangar at the meeting, there's one of their aircraft in the hangar, and they are met by Lockheed, and and he's driving them someplace in their little Jeep, and he's interrupted by a phone call from his personal assistant, and so Captain Adam overhears him talking about not giving Scott the job because of Eiling's pressure, and that really ticks him off. Nightshade has to calm him down a little bit. Then it says, and he tells them about the prototype, and says they couldn't find it because it's right here in my pocket, in my breast pocket. Right then is when the Faceless One pops out of nowhere, and he's got this beam from his belt, which cuts their little Jeep right in two. Captain Adam goes for him, zapping him, but his energy bolt is zapped right back at him, reflected right back at him. And the Faceless One snags Locklead and threateningly, and has give me the prototype. Well, he's scared to death. He gives him the prototype. So they've got to go for him, and now he's going to impale Locklead, because this turns out this guy, who is the Faceless One, had previously worked for Locklead. He was the primary researcher involved, technician involved in developing this prototype, this stealth ray technology, and all this gizmo stuff that the Faceless One has got is a byproduct of that same technology. But he needs that prototype to complete his whatever, and so he's going to impale Locklead on the arrow spike of that aircraft. Well, Captain Adam quickly zaps that and melts it, so he can't do that. Then Nightshade engulfs them in her darkness; they can't see, and Captain Adam saves Locklead. But the Faceless One has the prototype, and he gloats a little bit. But Captain Adam knows that his energy bolts will be reflected and not harm the Faceless One, but he shoots a tight, precise beam right through and destroying the prototype. And the Faceless One is gone. Whether he transported away or was destroyed, we don't know. Probably transported away somehow. And the bad guy basically got away as far as we know, but they destroyed the prototype, which Locklead is not happy with because he needed that for some contracts, and but the guy didn't get away with it. So, and they saved his life. And then here we are later. I think the colorist must have gotten confused, because here is supposed to be Cameron's sometime later. And Locklead is talking to Cameron Scott and said, when his position comes available, you'll be the first one we call. But he knows better, knows otherwise. But it's supposed to be Cameron Scott, but he's still colored like Captain Adam. So they made a little bit of a mistake here, because this is like the next day. And there is Nightshade in her civilian guise as Eve Eden. Get it? Eve Eden? Yeah. And so they said, okay, well, maybe now we can go on our little holidays. Sorry, holiday's over. I've got to go back to the Suicide Squad. I'm committed to the Suicide Squad just as you're committed to the Justice League. Okay, sorry, we'll meet again soon. But it was all self-contained. I like that. And boy, it took me a lot longer than I intended to talk about that. I think it's a well crafted story. Some of the newer writers could probably take a hint. Someone who actually knows how to write a story, parts of it, and have a satisfactory conclusion. Tell the story, have some character development, character interaction, not so two-dimensional characters, and a little interpersonal drama, etc. And some really great art by Pat Broderick. So that's all I've got for you this time. Thank you for joining me. Please like, share, and subscribe. And do leave your comments down below. Do you like Captain Atom? I don't know anything about the current version of Captain Atom. I understand he's in the current version, he's never been part of the Justice League. But back then in the 80s and 90s, he was a long time member of the Justice League. And do Did you like the Charlton version? I like the Charlton version. I like because I followed this pretty closely when it was first published. So let me know what you think on all of that stuff. And remember, people, comics are art.